All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Thank you all for being here this morning. I want to thank you all to be here as we celebrate this historic moment for the city of Baltimore and our neighbors who are experiencing homelessness. I would also like to acknowledge our partners and supporters who have worked hard to make this acquisition happen, as well as some very special guests. Starting, we are honored to have our acting Secretary of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, Secretary Todman, here with us. A representation from the best congressional delegation a mayor could ask for. Mayor Secretary Jake Day, once the mayor, always the mayor, Mr. Secretary. Our City Administrator Faith Leach. Councilman Robert Stokes from the 12th District, Councilwoman Odette Ramos, Comptroller Bill Henry, Matt Garbach and Eric Evans, our Chief Recovery Officer, also known in the halls of City Hall as Mommy Warbucks, Shemaya Kearney, everybody that is here today from the Health Department, DHCD, the Baltimore City's Continuum of Care Chair, Co-Chair, Jeff Garrett and Dan McCarthy, and of course, our fabulous Homeless Services Director, Ernestina Simmons. We are here today to take a significant step in Baltimore's fight to end homelessness and provide every resident who is grappling with housing insecurity, and it has been made possible by so many here today who have always been motivated by a passion and a calling to serve others. I want to emphasize the significance of this acquisition because something like this has never been done in Baltimore before. Anyone who has grown up here or lived in Baltimore for any period of time can tell you the city has faced long ongoing issues with homelessness for all of my lifetime. And the pandemic exposed more of what we already knew to be true. We are in the midst of a nationwide housing crisis, and there are significant gaps in the system that impact the access we can provide people who are in need of immediate shelter. When I look at these hotels behind us and beside me that were once the Holiday Inn Express and the Sleep Inn suites, I see an important investment in the people of our cities. Tackling homelessness is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It requires individualized and innovative response to every aspect of the system and every factor that can lead a person to homelessness. These hotels provide us more capacity and another tool in the toolbox to continue that work. And Baltimore is not the only city to adopt this method. We're just the best city to adopt this method. We understand the need for emergency shelter and temporary shelter, but we know that those emergency measures are not enough to transition someone out of homelessness, which is why we place such an emphasis on taking it a step further by also creating permanent supportive housing for our community, providing shelter coupled with vital support services to ensure that our residents have access to critical resources and information is what will help us break the cycle of homelessness in Baltimore and empower our residents to gain and sustain stability. And this acquisition would not be possible without ARPA funding there to help bring it to fruition. And as always, I'd like to thank President Biden, Vice President Harris, their entire administration, the best congressional delegation ever, led by Senator Cardin and Van Hollen, our forever Congressman Kwesi Mfume, for providing us and fighting for us every single day. If I had time, I would thank them 641 million times. And for those federal partners, including our next speaker, who we're honored to have here today, who have been standing and working with Baltimore since we both came into office early in 21. The city's work to tackle homelessness would not be possible without our enduring and very close partnership with HUD. So I'm very, very happy to welcome Secretary Todman here to provide a few remarks. Madam Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. And you're welcome for the good weather. You're welcome. Least I can do. I want to thank Mayor Scott and all of the amazing leaders who are standing behind me, and everybody for the role that you have played and the leadership to address homelessness here in Baltimore. As the mayor mentioned, I am no stranger to Baltimore. This is not my first time up here. So it's good to see when results and progress is happening. And I want to applaud the mayor and his leadership team for doing that. In Baltimore and in too many cities across the country that I visited, too many people are living without a home. Too many of our mothers and our fathers, and increasingly too many of our grandparents are living without a home. They're unhoused, and we have to do better. We can do better. We are the most powerful country in this world, and we have to do more. You know, one of the reasons I'm here today is certainly to applaud the efforts and to applaud the results with the acquisition of these two hotels. But I'm also here, Mr. Mayor, to affirm and to reaffirm the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to helping you get the resources you need. You know, I like to say when I'm speaking that hopes and dreams and vision are great, but without money and without the resources, all they are hopes and dreams and someone's bold vision. So we're happy to be able to deliver $90 million from the administration to make sure that the hopes and dreams and visions that you all have are coming to fruition. And we know that more needs to happen. We know that as our families and children and veterans need our help, we know it's not just this $90 million. We know that we need absolute more. And I want you all to know that the president, the vice president, and I are continuously putting together new proposals and new funding ideas to make that happen. What does that look like? You know, in the president's 2025 budget, we made a bold statement and said no veteran should be homeless, not one. If you have served this country, the least we can do is make sure that you have a roof over your head. We want to make sure that our young people who are aging out of foster care, people who are just as they're trying to get their first step in life and adulting, that they have someone that catches them and making sure we're giving them rental assistance and that they are stably housed. We want to make sure, Mr. Mayor, that we are giving you the money you need to build housing. We know that helping to stabilize homeless folk is just one step of the equation. But we also know we have to build more housing. We have to repair more housing. We need to do creative things like create housing and repurpose buildings that are right here beside me. And that's one of the reasons why we've proposed a historic level of billions of dollars to give mayors and local leaders the flexibility and funding they need to do creative things like what's happening here today. Look, this is one of those moments where at some point somebody's going to forget that we're all standing here, right? People are going to say, well, what's the next thing? What are you going to do next? Yeah, you bought the hotels, and yeah, you're going to house folks. What's the next thing? Let me say this. We need to make sure that we have leadership in place here in Baltimore, leadership of this country that's making sure that we're leaning in where people want us to be. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so proud to serve with this administration, because from day one, we have been centered on regular folk. From day one, we have said when we're going to put together billions of dollars, who needs that help the most? Who are the folks who've been forgotten for decades? And I'm here to testify that we have not forgotten in the Biden-Harris administration. In fact, all we're going to be doing is making sure that folks like this mayor get the resources that he needs, and we're helping to solve homelessness across the country. Congratulations for y'all's work, and I look forward to what's next.
And now we will hear from none other than our local statewide housing secretary, Secretary Jake Day. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, good morning. Good morning. Comptroller Henry and I were over there marveling at the fact that the federal government was responsible for providing this weather. Madam Secretary, if you could keep this a recurring theme, all of us here in Baltimore would be appreciative. Thank you. Other duties as a sign, right. Madam Secretary, We are so appreciative of our federal partners. And I want to tell you that I am here today wearing one of my hats that Governor Moore expects me to wear, which is cheerleader. We didn't do this. We are here to cheer you on, Baltimore. Bravo. Bravo. Yes, it takes resources. Yes, it takes partnership, federal, state, local. But boy, you better believe that it takes leadership from the people entrusted to represent the best ideals of our community. And so, Mayor, council members, comptroller, friends, Baltimore is leading. You're doing it. I want to note that while we have challenges ahead, we are tantalizingly close to functional zero veteran homelessness in this state. We are tantalizingly close to functional zero unaccompanied youth homelessness in this state. We are tantalizingly close to ending chronic homelessness in this state. And this is precisely the decision that gets us to that goal. So let's keep on doing it together. Permanent supportive housing is absolutely the solution that we need. People deserve shelter. It ought to be treated as a human right. People deserve a roof over their heads. They deserve dignity. And this is how we get there. So, Mr. Mayor, congratulations. My friends in the city of Baltimore, as we make decisions. Last week, we're awarding homelessness solutions grants that you'll find out about soon. We reward those that make positive decisions for themselves, and I can't wait to continue to reward Baltimore with our little bit of support. So bravo, keep up the great work. Congratulations.
Thank you. Now we will hear from the Pride of East Baltimore, Councilman Robert Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, but I always like to start off thanking God for being here today. Look at this great weather. If this was last Saturday or Sunday, we'll be frying. Tomorrow, it's going to be 107. So I just want to mention the real hard workers, the Mayor's Office on Homeless Services, Jesse Stevenson, HABC, all those partners who on the front line who really do the work, who out here working with our homeless here in the city. The most thing I'm so proud of, that finally, Mr. Mayor, you put faith in this, because I know you got a lot of heat behind this, but people always say they want to help homeless people. This is a great idea, so we really gonna make sure their house is not temporary. So, Mr. Mayor, I want to thank you for doing that. Also, you know, the gentleman who owned both of these, I got many calls from him, sleeping on the steps, going to the bathroom. So I'm glad to see this. And when you talk about addressing homeless here in the city, this is a great opportunity for our city, our state, and all our partners to show what Baltimore can do when we talk about addressing homeless in this city. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman. And I did put faith in this. Literally, this was faith project. Literally. Next, we will hear from our Chief Recovery Officer, Director Shamaya Kearney.
Good morning. Again, I'm Shamaya Kearney. I have the privilege and honor of serving as the Chief Recovery Officer for the Mayor's Office of Recovery Programs. I am really excited to be here today. This is the 3rd anniversary of the establishment of the Mayor's Office of Recovery Programs. And thank you. And how fitting it is for us to be here on an occasion such as this, where we talked about the $641 million that this city has received and demonstrating tangibly impact that we're having on this city. When I first took this job, one of the first meetings that I had with the mayor, I asked him, after this $641 billion has been invested, not spent, but invested, what do you want to see? What do we want the headlines to be? And what we talked about was impact. What we talked about was changing the narrative about Baltimore City. What we talked about was addressing longstanding challenges that have happened in this city and how we, with this historic level of funding, would be able to do that. One of the first things that we talked about was how we could address homelessness and helping our unhoused residents and how we would go about doing that. after having those conversations and talking about the acquisition of hotels, as Councilmember Stokes said, there was a lot of heat in the media and other places about this idea. But as we all stand here collectively today, we should all stand in our resolve to help our unhoused residents. They're not problems, they're people. And we should absolutely do our collective best to make sure that we are helping them not only just establish and have a roof over their head, but to look forward to something, creating a life that gives them sustainability. This is the first step in doing that. I want to acknowledge, because I get to stand here before you as the director, but I want to acknowledge other people and other departments in city agencies that have helped to get us to this day. I want to thank Deputy Director of the Mayor's Office of Recovery Programs, Elizabeth Tatum, for how she has held hands and come alongside the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services to make sure that we got to this day. Also to our counterparts in the Department of Real Estate and the Comptroller's Office for their support, for the Department of General Services for their support, to Director Ernestina Simmons, who that deserves an applause in and of itself, literally, because there's a lot of passion in this community, and you know that our advocates, our unhoused residents, there are lots of ideas and opinions upon how we can address homelessness, and we're not always going to agree on those things. But Director Simmons has come in, she has taken the helm, she has stood fast, she's held hands, she's very focused on partnership. And I appreciate that, because what we talk about all the time is that we can't be an ivory tower where we sit high and we look low. And so Director Simmons has absolutely done the work to establish relationship with community, and I appreciate your servanthood and your leadership. That really needed to be said publicly. So thank you for all of that. And so lastly, just again, thank you to all of you who are here. There are many places that you could be today, but you are here celebrating this accomplishment. This is the first of many things that we plan on doing as we continue to figure out how we're going to address the issue of homelessness. And as I said over the weekend to think about what I would say, I didn't want to be scripted. I wanted to speak from my heart. And the one word that really came to me was progress. We are making progress, and it might be incremental. We might not have done this as quickly as some would have wanted, but we made a commitment and we stood fast on that and we delivered. So thank you, Mayor Scott, for your unwavering support for this project as well. City Administrator Faith Leach for your commitment and your support also. Just all of the collective support around, again, understanding that our unhoused population are people, not problems. And thank you for continuing to believe in that, despite the fact that we are a little bit post-COVID, we still have challenges, but we're committed to solving them together. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Director. And we talked about partnership, and you heard the director talk about partnership. We know the continuum of care is really about the partnership, and with that, Co-Chair Dan McCarthy is going to come forward and give us a few words. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning.
Good morning.
So I believe that we can address homelessness with housing. And I believe that housing is healthcare. And I believe at this site, in this place, we can produce housing that'll benefit all of Baltimore and make us a healthier city. So I want to compliment Mayor Scott, Director Kearney, Director Simmons on making the deal to acquire these two buildings. They can be used immediately, but the thing that may have the most impactful is the parking lot in between here. That is a place where we can use all our creativity to really have a huge impact on this site.
That's true.
This site is rich with possibilities that'll benefit Baltimore for generations. So I'm thrilled to be here, to be joined by Secretary Day, who recently created a division of homeless solutions at the Department of Housing and Community Development, Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development. Unprecedented dedication that the state is making in both human capital and financial capital to partner with us. And we're thrilled to have Secretary Day and Danielle Meister, who heads that division and knows Baltimore well, joining with us. So thank you, Mr. Secretary. I also want to hold up Commissioner Kennedy, who I saw here, Commissioner Kennedy here, who really has done a terrific job of knitting together the housing and the homeless service side. She was the bridge that created the bond between Director Simmons and her staff and Secretary Day. That'll really be a huge impact on this. And I think that we will benefit again for a long time here based on this. And that partnership has really created the links between Secretary Day, Mayor Scott, and of course, Governor Moore, who's a critical player in this. Look, but I just want to point out that the vision for this is coming from Baltimore, right? The Baltimore Continuum of Care that I'm representing today, working with the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services, working with the Housing Department, working with the Leadership Committee on homelessness and housing. And Mayor Scott himself has brought us here today to be solutions. Like, I don't know how many of you knew Anthony Williams, a longtime housing activist here in our city, and I am feeling the presence of Anthony with us today. He would be so proud. This is what he pounded on so many tables to achieve. My only regret of today is that he's not here with us. He was a leader in every way in creating this project right here behind us. So, today, the hard work starts. I know this has been a challenge, but this is when the hard work starts of having a transformative impact here on the Fallsway. It's time to put our shoulders to the wheel and move this forward. Thank you so much for having me today and for this historic event.
Thank you, Adrianne. And now we hear from our fabulous director, Director Simmons.
Good morning. First and foremost, I just want to thank each of you for taking the time out of your day to come and spend this morning with us. It is more than appreciated, and I'm grateful for that. I've been in this seat now for 9 months. And when I'm hearing that this was a difficult project, what I saw was so many city agency leaders have stepped up and took my calls and took my questions and just stepped up, because something like this just does not happen with just the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services. It looks like Commissioner Kennedy taking my calls, Janet Abrahams trying to help me understand what exactly does this acquisition look like, and meeting with community partners to help me understand what are the needs, what are the missing gaps that we have in our system that we're trying to serve for. So I want to take a moment, number one, to say thank you to the mayor. Thank you to CAO Leach. Shemaya's office is just a tremendous blessing, because her team has served almost as a part of my team, and that has allowed us to be standing here today. So thank you all for that. What you're seeing today as this acquisition really is the first step in what our journey is. This is about the creation of permanent supportive housing for our community. I think one of the things that we have to fully embrace is clients deserve to be seen, heard, and served, and that is the mission of the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services. We're grateful for what this opportunity is going to allow. Permanent supportive housing is different. It's a very different approach. And so what I want people to understand it means is our most vulnerable clients deserve an opportunity that they can be housed, they can be cared for, they can receive the support that they need. That's what makes permanent supportive housing different. Our strategy is person-centered, and it's really just about the people that we aim to serve through the program. I also would be remiss without thanking my team, who is here. A lot of them are in this room today. Kiana, who I see started off this journey with me in building off some work plans and data for everybody to see what is MOHS trying to accomplish. So I want to thank Jessica. I want to thank Arshay, Lakeisha, who is my newest director, and just the MOHS team for being on this journey with us. My hope for each of us is that we understand that we are using this as temporary space for shelter. I think what I wanted to share with you all is when winter shelter comes to a close, right? The city opens up, we say we're going to give shelter to everybody who needs shelter beds. And what this acquisition allowed us to do is say to those people, we're going to continue to let you stay here. We're going to continue to serve you. We're going to continue to honor you as we are looking to release an RFP that's going to determine how we convert these buildings, right? So since that time, just to lift up the work that this has served as, we've served 378 families and children at these 2 locations since April. That looks like 136 of those adults are over the age of 50. 0 to 17, that's 40 children that's in between these 2 sites. So when you look at why permanent supportive housing, thank every developer and nonprofit organization that wants to stand behind this work, because it is tough work. You are meeting people where they are, you're seeing them as they need to be seen, and you're saying housing isn't going to be your challenge today. What's going to be your challenge is how can we engage you on your terms? How do I meet you with what your needs are? And that's our mission at MOHS. We want to serve. We want to serve. So thank you all.
Any questions from our friends in the media?
Thank you for the question. Our goal is so before, with COVID, everyone shifted how you were going to serve, and we went to these hotel as a model. What it actually did, though, is it decreased the amount of shelter beds that was in the atmosphere. So what our goal right now is, we're trying to have 800 shelter beds, which is really an unprecedented number for the city of Baltimore to have, and as a part of our ecosystem. And that is the goal. So these 2 locations are going to be used as temporary shelter space. As we release an RFP, and you all are going to be the first to hear it, this RFP is actually going to be released within the next couple of weeks. And I'm giving myself some grace in that timeline, but it will be released within the next couple of weeks. But it is a process, right? So we get proposals back. It takes time for a capital deck to be prepared, and we will continue to use these 2 spaces as temporary shelter. And the city is continuing our goal of locating permanent shelter space with a goal of 800 shelter beds for the city of Baltimore.